The Ancient One debuted in the very first Doctor Strange comic, Strange Tales number 110, way back in July 1963. In the earliest Doctor Strange stories, he's actually referred to as the Master, but people kept getting him confused with Doctor Who's arch-nemesis. Please don't write angry comments, Doctor Who fans. I know the Gallifreyan version of the Master didn't debut until 1971. That was a joke. But the first part is true. The man who taught Stephen Strange the secrets of magic was originally called the Master. I guess this didn't sound mystically Asian enough, because it didn't take long for characters to start referring to him as the Ancient One. As his name implies, the Ancient One is over 500 years old and was born in a remote Tibetan village named Kamar Taj. He has a close friend named Kalu who managed to figure himself out some magic. Kalu shares what he's learned with his friend, and they set about making things better for everyone in the village with all of their awesome new magic. They cast a spell that eliminates sickness, poverty, hunger, and made everyone in the village immortal. Turns out, Kalu was also taking over everyone's mind to turn them into an immortal army he could use to conquer the world. Horrified by what his friend is doing with his power, the Ancient One fights his former friend, but because of his inexperience with the magical forces he's using, he accidentally calls down a terrible doom on the village, wiping out all of the people. Kalu is able to escape by fleeing to another dimension, and of course returns later to plague the Ancient One with his evil magic. The Ancient One survives, but loses his immortality, instead aging very, very slowly. After this, the Ancient One decides to devote himself to protecting everyone from magical threats and becomes the Sorcerer Supreme, a title he will hold until he eventually passes it on to Dr. Stephen Strange a few years before his own death. The Ancient One is a person who trained both Stephen Strange and his oldest foe, Baron Mordo. Mordo was a student of the Ancient One when Strange arrives at his home in the Tibetan mountains. Before he learns any magic, Strange discovers Mordo is actually trying to kill the Ancient One so that he can be the greatest sorcerer on Earth, which is actually a lot easier than just getting better at magic, I guess. Strange fights through the enchantments Mordo has placed on him to stop him from warning the Ancient One, and lets him know Mordo has been attacking him in secret. At this point, the Ancient One reveals that he knows Mordo is evil and knows what he did to Strange, and all of this was just a test to see what kind of person Strange was. You see, the Ancient One has been keeping Mordo around, even though he knows he's evil, even though he knows he's a murderer, just to keep an eye on him. And the best part is, while keeping an eye on his evil murdering apprentice, he has still been teaching him new magic. I guess this makes sense if you're a 500-year-old sorcerer, because it doesn't make a lick of sense to me. Anyways, the Ancient One teaches Strange all of his magic and is the go-to guy for help when Strange needs to be bailed out of some situation. After Strange becomes the Sorcerer Supreme, he has to part ways with his master when the old one, Shumagorath, who's basically Cthulhu, is breaking into our universe through the Ancient One's mind, and the only way to stop it is for Strange to kill the Ancient One, sealing Shumagorath back outside of space and time. Of course, that's not the end for someone who's been the Sorcerer Supreme for 5 centuries, and he still shows up in ghostly form from time to time to give Doctor Strange much needed advice. As a key figure in the Doctor Strange story, the Ancient One is figured prominently in both the made-for-TV 1978 Doctor Strange movie and the animated film Doctor Strange, Sorcerer Supreme. The Ancient One will be a large part of the upcoming Doctor Strange movie that will be bringing magic into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The Ancient One will be played by one of my favorite actresses, Tilda Swinton, who is no stranger to comic movies, having played Gabriel in the film adaptation of Hellblazer, Constantine. She's been in literally dozens of fantastic movies, including some of my favorite Wes Anderson and Coen Brothers movies, so I have no doubts that her performance of the Ancient One will be one of the highlights in the upcoming Marvel film.
If you need a little more magic in your life, click on one of the faces for more comic origins of the characters from Marvel's Doctor Strange. Learn all about them now, because you can't say it was better in the comics if you don't know what happened in the comics. Any characters you'd like to see us cover? Let us know in the comments. And be sure to subscribe to the Fractal channel to get all the backgrounds and origins from characters for all the upcoming DC and Marvel movies and series.